Hello, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I have Eric Rains back with me. I'm really excited to have him here to ask him a bunch of questions. And he's also doing a retreat, which I'll ask him about. So thank you so much for joining me, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So let me tell you a little bit about Eric. So Eric is an etheric alchemist, student of life at Unleashing Natural Humanity. You can find my our interview together that we did on my YouTube channel. After a dark night of the soul culminating in 2012, then an intense energetic activation in 2013, Eric Rains became aware of the implantation and parasitic construct by direct observation. His subsequent search for answers about this experience led him on a journey to self-discovery. This discovery, coupled with more and more real-world practice, has allowed him to gain deep understanding of how this invasive system works, how to identify the interferences and constructs, how to promote self-protection through daily practices, and most importantly, how to remove these false constructs from himself as well as others. So this is just great timing because we got the madness going on with coronavirus, and I just have all kinds of questions, but see in that window area. But I don't know, if you want to just start and just share a little bit about this retreat, or you want to wait till the end.
Yeah, we could definitely start talking about the retreat right now. It's not going to take but like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
So pretty much what I'm doing is this is the 4th annual Golden Frequency Retreat, and we have it in McLeod, California at the foot of Mount Shasta, and it's going to be the beginning of August. It's going to be a full 7 days where I personally have designed the entire curriculum, and it's designed to activate the physical body through yoga, through meditation, and then I'm going to show people how to do the same work that I do. And some of the things that we've been finding with this type of work right here is that pain is truly an option inside of the body. And what we can do is we can activate our own internal state and then fill it with the emotion that we prefer inside of the body. And then we can go find the places where we have things stuck inside of the muscle memory. And the muscle memory is literally the only reason besides direct injury or deformation that we keep pain trapped inside of the body. And it's just the tension. It makes things tight, then it pulls bones out of alignment. It pinches the nerves in between right there, and then ouch. And so this is why so many people are walking around with uncontrollable tension. They're always tired. It's because their muscles are always activated 100% of the time. And so we go in through the individual activation to learn how to turn the chi flow on. And then from there, we can go into all kinds of places. We're going to be going into crystalline organ rejuvenation, which actually shows people how to directly rejuvenate their organs to make them young again. We're going to be going into the ancestral fields to where the traumas that are passed down through mother to son, father to son, mother to daughter, mother to son, and all of those fields that go back all the way 7, 8 generations back, and sometimes even further. Those are the reasons why we think and feel a lot of the same things that we do, that we don't understand why we have those patterns. And we go in, we go clear those out. We're going to have all kinds of fun with that. Pretty much it's an amazing week where we have everybody come together. And oftentimes what ends up happening is we meet our star family. We meet the people who came with us from the other side inside of these places because we get all drawn together. And it's so fun. This is going to be the 4th one that we've done. And I swear I learn more each year than I actually teach people, just because of so much understanding from so many different points of view. And it's truly, truly a magical, magical space. And I can't wait to be there again this year. And I hope as many people join us as possible.
Oh, yeah. And when is this?
It's from August, I believe, 9th to the 17th.
Oh, man, I'm not going to be around. I'm like, I want to sign up. I would love to join you on that. And I just appreciate your work so much and how you go about things. And it's just like so right on. It's just so right on. So there, what kind of current energetic events is this all, the retreat you want to talk about, or anything else coming up?
Well, that's pretty much it for the retreat. I actually did an energy update this morning. There is a huge activation that happened outside of the planet. I believe it was Monday. And what ended up happening was like the whole coronavirus thing right now. Like there's definitely, you gotta worry for your elders. You gotta make sure that your elders are taken care of because they're really falling victim to this flu right here. But it happens quite a bit. You know, people who have an immunocompromised system already, when they get the flu, oftentimes it doesn't end well to begin with. And what's happening right now is all of this hype around this, all of this fear around this right now, it's creating an absolute global panic. And this panic is an extremely dense field of energy. And it's been almost like swimming through a soup of, you know, it's like trying to, instead of walk through air, it's like walking through molasses over the past week and a half or so. And what ended up happening was a massive blowback. It's like, so the systems of control right now, this is what's keeping the planet pulled down inside of this 3D density. And fifth dimensional understanding is where the planet's light, it's open, it's clean, and it lifts up into those light fields. And the ancestral traumas, like I was talking about for the retreat, these are the fields that pull things down, the nonstop wars, these constant fear progressions and these fear programs that are put onto the planet. If everybody just one day dropped all of this and we all decided to love each other and laugh and have a good time with each other, you know, throw a big gigantic worldwide music festival, these systems would dissolve overnight. And they're already on the way out. And this is why we're seeing so many crazy things happening, because they're old systems to where they would get a major fear reaction from a little bit of input. Like they have to put a lot more into it now, and the input of, or the output of the fear is getting smaller and smaller. And eventually they're going to have to put too much into it, and they're not going to get that fear response. And that's when this is all going to start collapsing. What happened with this coronavirus is it's like they way overstepped their bounds right here. And the amount of source light that is coming through our solar system right now, I've never even felt this before. It's like if my own connection to source was like the flow of a garden hose worth of liquid, it's like all of a sudden an ice dam broke and there's a tsunami that's like flooding everything now. And I've never seen anything like it. It's been definitely a trying couple of weeks here, but there is going to be some major shifting. And I'm honestly expecting it even today. I guarantee you we're going to start seeing some stuff happening even just today. And as this goes forward and it gets stronger, we're going to start seeing some major dismantling of a lot of the control systems. And it's going to be a very interesting time to be alive. And that's why a lot of us are here. You know, we're the beacons, the lighthouses that carry this field of resonance into the darkness. And instead of letting the darkness affect us, we affect it. And it's finally starting to work.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so wonderful to, you know, really, tune in. I mean, so with this increase in light energy, I mean, the dark agendas are just, wanting to create that fear field, and keep us, you know, kind of low. But I guess on an energetic level, you see people kind of having a breakthrough where it's like, wait a second, I'm really wasting my time giving all my energy to this. It's almost like they're shooting themselves in the foot, right? Like, again, like how 9/11 was, there's no event anymore that can really capture humans in the way that it has throughout history.
Yeah. And you know, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, shooting yourself in the foot. That's a really good example of what they're doing right now. Their control game, their system, the way that they operate, like this has been well documented and it's been well understood. And it's mostly on a physical level where we're seeing a lot of this with the control systems and the subliminal programming and everything that's kind of happening in the background to keep people in a fear, panic, consumerism state. But we've been exploring the energetic ties and seeing how this goes out into the past, the present, and the future. And what's happening is as these systems are laid out in the open, more and more people are seeing this playbook and they're recognizing it when it happens. Like, you know, I don't know how often people look at a shooting now, like a mass shooting, and immediately you've got people jumping all over it saying, well, this is inconsistent. This doesn't line up. This looks like a drill that they had just the day before, you know, and people are starting to recognize that there are a lot of the times false flags. Oh, yeah. False flags don't mean that people don't die, but it means that it was an orchestrated event in order for something to happen for a furthering of an agenda. And we're starting to see all of this getting laid open. And so as they keep on doing this, they're shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again, because we know, and as we point it out, as we start looking at it, people have no choice but to recognize it. You know, truth is one of those things that it speaks for itself. And as you start to point it out and you say, okay, well, you know, I guarantee you that this is going to happen now because of that. And then all of a sudden it does. It's like, well, how did you know that? Well, because look at all of these, like this is the past 95 of them, you know, it's all the same thing. And this is exactly what they use it for.
Right. And just how we all respond does have a lot to do with also what's been passed down. If there's been a lot of survival energy, coming down from the family lines or past lives connected to maybe dying in a plague, and those, memories
Yeah.
come to the surface, and those fears. It's like we all have that inner work to do. And this is what you provide such an incredible space for people. Because we have choices here in how we react and respond. And so when you see, people talking about, oh, they're going to, this is all the reasons that they're trying to say this is happening. And I almost think sometimes it's beside the point, because we have to work the energy anyway, regardless of where it's coming from. But do you see this sort of 5G rollout really happening, and things linked to, further vaccinations? And do you see that as the next attempt?
Definitely. Their old systems are collapsing around them, and so they have to ramp it up. They cannot stay inside of the same space that they were, and so they have to make it stronger. They have to make it more intense. They have to tell you that this is going to happen, or all hell's going to break loose, and all this chaos is going to happen, and people are going to die. And so that's what sparks that fear panic, and it's just getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And it's forcing the planet through a collective dark night of the soul right now. And, the dark night of the soul, if people aren't familiar with that is, it's when you have an overload of the negative sensations, the negative emotions, and the negative thoughts inside of you, to the point that there's a crisis where you hit that rock bottom. And from that space, you can start to forge yourself into where and who you want to be. And right there it's a critical point, and we have to go through it, and it's not going to be fun. But once we get into that space and all the illusions are taken away, and we're sitting inside of something so truly repugnant that we know for a fact we don't enjoy it, from there we can say, well, what do I want? I focused on nothing but negativity to create this space right here. What happens if we focus in the other direction? And that's actually, textbook. That's exactly how I got into this place right here. I was sitting inside of so much darkness and nastiness that I was like, wow, look at what I made. Like, this is just incredible. What happens if I focus on light? Guarantee I can make something beautiful,
And that's the breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. And it's really simple. It's a simple epiphany understanding, but without the tribulation and the trials to go through everything that you experienced up until that point that you recognize, I don't really prefer this, and I'm not going to do this anymore. That's the journey. That's why we're here. And the planet's being forcibly going through this right now. As for 5G, that is definitely something that we've got to watch out for. It's a very, very harmful frequency that it does really uncomfortable things to the electromagnetic flow inside of our bodies. Now, there's definitely stuff that we can do to mitigate that. First and foremost is our own frequency mitigation. We can create a bubble around ourselves that this is me, that's whatever's on the outside, and I am me, and I don't change from the inside. And so you can really hold strong into that level right there, but not a lot of people know how to do that yet. There's things that you can wear on your body, like EMF shields, like shungite. Shungite's a really good one for radiation and EMF protection. Orgonite as well, but I actually found that there's a different form of orgonite called plasterite, Plasterite. And this, not only is it way cheaper and non-toxic, it's a lot uglier, but it's pretty much plaster of Paris and beach sand. It's powdered gypsum and quartz silicate. And when they combine together and they harden into a form, you've got to put it into a bucket or like a traffic cone or something like that, because it has to be a lot bigger. But the energies that are created from this, I'm not saying I know how it works. I just know that when it hardens and it activates, it's like a thump that goes through the energetic reality. And suddenly the sky's bluer than you've ever seen it. And it's impossible for negative electromagnetic interference to come through into that area right there. There's a lot of things that we can do. And say, for instance, that you make like a big traffic cone with that spiral flow, because anybody can make this. It's super easy to make. And if you make one of those and then you plug it into something that's running 24/7, like a refrigerator or an alarm clock, by wrapping an electric cord all the way around it and then plugging those in right there, it actually feedbacks that energy back into the power grid, and your power bill goes down. The negative electronic interference from the magnetic EMF radiation, that actually doesn't show up, because it completely eliminates the stuff that burns off. And then you only get the electricity going through that actually powers the device. It's a really, really powerful tool of light. And I highly recommend that as many people as possible look into it and start making it. It's something very powerful that can shift the face of the planet.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's huge. So, Yeah, I mean, if 5G does roll out, I mean, is it going to take the collective to have the focused intent? Like there has to be enough of us with the focused intent to bypass all of that, or is it something we inevitably are going to have to maybe mitigate? I mean, I know that it's kind of like one of those questions that are asking
Yeah.
a prediction, and I don't want to put you on the spot because
Well,
about that. But I mean, like, don't as we see the dark cabal crumble, and a lot in the news about people getting arrested. There's a lot more attention on the crimes against humanity. I mean, you can't even look at like some of these celebrity threads on Twitter without people saying pedo, pedo, you're a pedo.
yeah.
You can't get away with this anymore. Your time is up. It's like these people like Tom Hanks. Do you feel like the crumbling of the dark forces is in enough time for enough light to come in through the consciousness of humanity to even put a stop to any more of this? Or do you just see them, like you said, continuing to amp it up? I mean, do you kind of see like a break in all this, or is it just like the inner work for each of us individually, and just maybe doing more mass meditations, and we have to pressure ourselves to you know psychically focus on certain things not happening? I mean, can
Yeah.
we relax a little, or like, what are your thoughts?
No, now is not the time to relax. Now we've got to do more work than any. Like honestly, 5G to me, what it feels like is the last gasp. It's like, if I can't play with my toys, I'm going to wreck everything and I'm going to take everybody out, type of a thing. And that right there is definitely something that we have to look out for. The plasterite, like I was just talking about, like if you put it into like a 2-liter soda bottle and then you bury it next to a tower, you actually turn that tower into a positive broadcaster. And so those type of frequencies can get mitigated. So there's a bunch of things that we can physically do on those levels right there. But right now, more than anything, what we've got to start focusing on is getting the planet into a space of cleanliness, a field of light that means pretty much doing our own internal work. But it's not about ignoring what's going on the outside and just focusing specifically in here. It's about creating a space so powerful inside of us that we can't help but move into the world around us. And that's where we're going to start seeing these major grassroots community movements that start really shifting things through and making it so that these agendas can't happen, because they have to play inside of the rule book that they created.
Right.
And the rule
There has
book
to be
right now,
consent. There has to be
yep,
consent
exactly. There has to be a consent. And
to a
if we
certain
don't
degree. Yeah.
do anything, then what we're doing is we're consenting by not saying no.
Right.
And it's called implied consent. And that's where we get like the whole straw man and, the birth certificates and everything being played on that level, because we don't know any better. And so we just play right into the system by thinking it's required, by thinking that it's something that has to happen. And instead of us researching it and becoming intelligent, sovereign humans, we just go along with what everybody else tells us. And, that's all the religious programming. That's the indoctrination with the government. It's, all these different things. They all work in that same way. There's always an ulterior motive that's spiritual in nature underneath it. And so if we start to go in and really sit inside of that space to recognize what is truth and what is false, that's where the discernment comes in. And we can start to recognize that agenda doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, that means that it's not positive in nature. So how do we go into that agenda and how do we clear it out? Well, it's the same process that we go through that I teach people inside the body. We don't focus on what's going wrong. We focus on what's going right. And we find that space that actually does feel good. And then we turn that up. We make that stronger. And then we make it something so beautiful that it starts to spill out of that space in the body. And it starts to actually clean out the spaces that aren't good, that are negative in nature, just by being there by proxy. Because if you turn on a really bright light, what happens to the shadow? As above, so below.
Right. Right. And yeah, so I mean, do you see just the need for more mass meditations? I mean, people like you and I mean, we speak out, we share information, but I mean, wouldn't you recommend that everybody who has the passion, has the awareness that something's not right, just really find some way to impact their local communities and just get the message out, and maybe create circles of meditation for focused intention? I mean,
Oh, 100%.
don't you think every single person should get up and just really make some kind of stand? Is that kind of a recommendation, I guess?
Definitely. And that all starts with the internal space. Because when we start to really activate on these levels, I'm very good at what I do. I'm really strong at what I do. And I can take somebody through a session to the point that by the time we're done, not only do they know how to do this type of work, but we've got everything cleaned out and they're very powerful in their own right. But I am absolutely minuscule compared to when we get, say, 10 or 15 people together who work on these levels, who each one of them could be maybe about 2 or 3% as strong as I am. And it doesn't matter, because it's not just a 10 plus 10 when we come to combining these energies, it's a 10 times 10, you know, and each time that we bring another person in, that activation gets stronger and more intense. And so like if we do this in the physical, it's a lot more effective. But you know, like these mass meditations that have been going around right now, these are so, so powerful, because instead of us having to directly physically connect, we can connect etherically, we can connect on the quantum level, and we can start to activate